We'll keep an eye on that.
What's this?
Hopefully after we go home.
It's a heat advisory down there.
This is the Great Northern Sexcast weather report. Hey, Colleen Bertino.
Hey there. Oh, I'm supposed to go to a Saints game tonight, so I'm trying to figure out whether or not whether there's gonna be baseball or not.
So at 11 a.m., she's looking at the radar.
I'm an old person now. I gotta look at the weather for freak's sake. There you go.
God, and
it's fun.
And the weather radios. Do you guys have those anymore, or do you just use your phone?
Oh, I just looked at my phone.
Yeah. My dad had one of those things. That sucker went off all the time. It was always like, I mean, and it was like you'd look and there wasn't a cloud in the sky. And I'm like, oh wait, somewhere in Iowa something is happening.
Something's
brewing. Best we tell everybody.
Well, I was the crazy weather woman for Pride because I couldn't be out there, but it was supposed to rain, and I had to make sure because I was gonna because you don't know whether or not folks are gonna be able to get data because things get really overwhelmed there. So I'm watching, and then I'm texting, and I'm sure Liz thought like I said, I think I mentioned last week. I think probably thought I was insane, but I did not want anyone down there.
We appreciate it, though.
Wet. Yeah.
You know, she kept us in the loop. She let us know if there's storms coming, but we made off unscathed with Pride. I'm telling you, it was a beautiful weekend. A little hot on Saturday, but we managed.
God, I mean, we were laughing again because we had Carl's store open last night, and I was there with him, and people were saying, wow, it looks like your neighbor, which is this little grocery store, like they've been cleaned out over the weekend. And it's like, that's what we were for Pride. The 4th of July drinkers had nothing on the Pride people. I'm telling you right now, it looked like the locust came through last Monday. But no, it was it's been a couple of really lovely weekends.
I think it's like the best 4th of July weekend I can think of in a long time.
Yeah.
And I could definitely tell that folks were stocking up because Friday sales were amazing.
Really?
Yeah.
Yes. Saturday and Sunday pretty much normal for a 4th of July weekend, but people were definitely planning and having a very fun weekend.
That's good, though.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Fireworks in the bed, too.
Yeah. No. Woohoo.
Oh, I got to see so many fireworks from my mom's place. I got to see Edina's, Richfields, Robbinsdale, St. Louis Parks, Minneapolis in the distance, and then the entire horizon. I mean, they must have. I've never seen such illegal fireworks in my entire life. It was great. It was just people were spending a fortune on these things.
If you're going to be a scofflaw, that's one of the better ways to go about it, in my opinion.
Yes, I was. Some of my daughter's teenage male, friends, they were running off to go, and I'm like, oh yeah, we've got our own fireworks. I looked at him and said, no digits. If it doesn't, give them about a 5-minute lecture because they're not going to listen to their own parents.
Right.
But they're stuck. But the folks were over at the house earlier, and they had to drive. I'm standing. I'm blocking their way out of my driveway as I explained to them. If so, they're like, okay. They said, okay. I said, I no injuries. They just looked at me.
I had my one meltdown. My one old person meltdown was yesterday afternoon because I didn't come down to Minneapolis for a couple hours until after Carl did. And I was trying to get some work done, and people were setting off firecrackers. Okay, I'm sorry. What the fuck is fun about a firecracker? It just irritates you. It's not pretty. There's nothing to look at, and it's like, pop, 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 pop. And it's like, oh, I would like to pop your little head right now. It was like, that bugs me. And that's another elderly indicator.
Oh, yeah, quite a number of things about can you kids get out of my beans.
And they let them all go at once. They just like the whole pack and boom, boom, boom. I'm ready to hit the ground.
I said, Carl and I were talking about that in the car last night, and I said, did you do that stuff? And he's like, yeah, you get over it at about 14. And I'm like, well, did you ever do M16s? He goes, you mean M80s? And I'm like, yeah, those. He knew what I meant, though,
yes.
And I didn't.
No, eons ago, while my brother and his friends were in high school, they welded together or somehow copper tubing into guns where they could put the bottle rockets in and shoot them at each other.
Oh,
because they're boys. Mm-hmm. And I'm sure, really, if you were female and you did this, I've never heard of it. So they managed to light a marsh on fire. This is long before, cell phones or anything. So, there's like 12 different calls from various payphones saying they were kind enough to call it in. They just didn't walk away from it. And I'm like, oh my God. Just shooting bottle rockets at each other. And they were probably about 14 or 15.
See, there's a chip that I think it gets eroded by testosterone that girls have and guys don't. And therein lies the difference there. So anything else? Well, besides having just a killer Friday and Saturday at Fantasy Gifts, what else is going on around there?
Let's see. Remodeling the break room. Truly exciting. I'm actually walking around with a piece of kitchen counter in my purse because I have to go buy tile.
Okay.
And just stuff. We're getting things pick up now. A lot of weddings, which means a lot of bachelorettes.
Perfect.
And bachelor parties and stuff like that. And we pretty much start focusing on Christmas and Valentine's. I mean, the joys of retail is you're 6 months and sometimes even a year ahead of you're ahead of time. Actually sent out the newsletter today.
Yay. Okay. And there's some goodies in there.
Yeah, there's some goodies in there. So there's two things. If you do a podcast on the ECN site, if you do podcast podcast 10 or podcast 15. I'm not sure which one it is on our partner website. How do we
verify this?
Yeah. Where do we get this info?
Great Northern Sex Cast Facebook page.
One of them's gonna work and one of them's not. So that's how that works.
Great.
Okay.
And so you can get anything off our partner website.
Okay.
And that's just for podcast listeners and stuff like that. So if they want to go shopping on our partner site, and we've got 10% off of OVO on our regular site and in the stores.
Okay.
And then if you register for it, there's like 2 gift baskets that are probably worth close to $200 or more each.
Wow.
And it was like I said, and I'm only going to be sending this out like once a month. I mean, it took me 2 years to get the first one out. So
we promise the next one will be out soon.
So must be really good.
Holy crap. Editing was just tough. I'm like, it went out today, and it was very exciting. We're like, we actually did it.
Okay, so two things I just want to clarify. When you call the partner website or the ECN site, where do people find that? How do you get there?
At our regular Fantasy Gifts on the Minnesota site. If you look at the top bar, you'll see visit our partner website.
Okay,
and you can click right there.
Okay,
and that will get you there. And but on our regular if you scroll down to like 80% down the page on the Fantasy Gifts website, you can see where you can sign up for the newsletter.
Okay. And
it's very exciting. I'm like, my favorite part was like 267 people signed up like in the past year. I'm like, people signed up for this. I was thinking about I'm like, maybe I should do something. I'm like, but it was just so many things that we're going through where we're trying to work on the search and other things and going through there. And for the most part, Minnesotans have not been very good about wanting to get emails or stuff from Fantasy Gifts. So it hasn't been a high priority. But I figure if I can get over 200 people to sign up without just on their own, I'm like, well, okay, maybe, in 2016 people want an email from us. Well, so and it's opt-in. I mean, I'm never going to send you anything, that like maybe once, maybe there'll be a second thing if something comes up, or there's we have the newsletter and then there's a special event that month or something. But it's going to be real short.
And it's not safe for work either.
Yeah,
it's
I mean, we have a product of the month, and it's a company that's a little bit more risque, but we decided maybe not the first newsletter. I'm good.
Yeah.
And so that's why the 10% off on the OVO.
Okay, so discounts, goodies.
Yes.
Check it out.
And it's the 10% off the OVO rechargeable, so it's the good stuff.
Yeah, and that amounts to a good chunk of change too, because I've got my little eyeballs on one of those too. Those are really nice. But I'm so happy with what I got from Shane in Minneapolis. It's getting a workout, and glad it's got a nice warranty on it. Just saying. So coming in here, I actually heard in the regular, this was on HLN, actually, Ashley Madison. I had an Ashley Madison rant last week because whenever I'm doing research for the show, Michael, because, we have some interesting stories discussed around here.
Definitely.
I get just bombarded with these very over-aggressive Ashley Madison ads, and you have to really work hard to get them off of your screen and all this kind of stuff. So I had kind of a meltdown last week. Well, they got a new CEO. And remember that big data breach last year that literally revealed personal information about thousands and thousands of their customers? Well, they're saying that they've got that fixed, and going forward, everything's going to be peachy. So you feel free to cheat on your spouse, knowing that you're going to be protected now, which I'm not surprised. I feel like this company is having bad juju because they are bad juju, but I digress. But no, the other thing was they're getting sued not only over the personal information, but because they supposedly were using fembots, meaning that guys that would go on there and they thought they'd be chatting with like these hot, whatever, regular, real humans. It was software.
They created. I was reading about that. They were finding pictures and creating profiles and then putting the stuff behind it because there aren't enough women on the site.
Yeah, and I can't remember which gnarly sounding government agency with boatloads of letters, but I think it's the FTC. Federal Trade Commission. Yep, that's it. They are investigating this too. That's a big deal. They could be in really, that's false advertising. That's, all kinds of stuff. So.
Yeah, because folks are being, asked to pay for a different type of membership or something.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Jealousy, and then then these folks, you're never going to meet anyone because nobody's there.
Yeah.
That's ridiculous.
I know. Oh. So any chance I get to throw them under the bus, I'm going to do that.
Yes.
So there's a lot of video that you guys have to that we've got. Megan will put it up on the Great Northern Sex Cast page. Let me just start since it's July 5th as we're taping today. The guy that put the fireworks in his ass and lit it, and it's in a collection I found of epic 4th of July fails. And I really don't want to talk about it anymore other than just go see. I would like to unsee it, but some people might find this.
Are we talking about like sparklers or Roman candles?
No, yeah. We're talking stuff that shouldn't be there.
Oh,
and
no.
I don't really.
Oh, no.
Because it wasn't until I only heard one set of sirens last night. So as far as I could tell from where, around me, people were not blowing off body parts.
Good.
But I'm so,
I wish I could say that same about my neighborhood in Richfield. We've seen cop cars just flying down our street, paramedics, everything. So of course, everybody. We never see cops, so we all go out in front and think, "Where's this going?" They went further than we saw, but yeah, there was nothing. I don't think it was good.
I personally like to come out of a holiday weekend intact. How about you guys?
Oh, I like.
I'm a fan of that. Me too.
I like fire. I like possibly years ago, me and my brother-in-law may have been pouring gasoline on a stump and letting it on fire to get rid of it once some work.
You might have.
Yeah. So, it's not as though I'm not want to do idiotic things, but when it explodes, I'm not going to pick it up if it doesn't explode. I don't understand
and
that part.
by extension, then I'm guessing you also wouldn't put it in your butt.
No.
Are you sure?
No orifices.
Okay.
No.
All right. Just checking. Okay.
Yeah. I was on a dirt pile. We had 2 hoses. Really, and a fire extinguisher out there. Really.
You know what? If in order to do something sexual or whatever, you need to have a fire extinguisher nearby, I'm out.
No,
I'm out.
I'm not included.
No.
Yeah. I'm always or the guy that killed himself by putting the fireworks on his head in a helmet. He thought that would be a good idea.
Oh.
Head injury. Yeah.
See, that's just not smart. I'm telling you.
There's a certain Darwin-esque.
Yeah, Megan
tinge
posted
to
something on our personal Facebook, and it was a guy has big sparkler flame or thing coming out of his his front of his pants. So he's got it open a zipper and everything. Well, it popped up and got him in the chest, so he's freaking out, and then he's rubbing his crotch on the ground trying to put the fire out. It's like, that does not seem fun. That does not seem like it's a good idea.
The photo op was absolutely not worth it.
Oh, I kind of laugh because you're so stupid to do that. Nothing like that is explosives is going near my junk.
It was not what he was going for. I guarantee.
No, I'm sure.
There's an inordinately cute video, though, that doesn't involve anybody getting blown up, which is a good thing. We'll put this one up. It's been going around. You might have seen it, but it popped up again, and I just thought it was worth mentioning because it was so absolutely insanely cute. The French bulldog and the koi fish kissing. There's a boatload of koi in this pond or wherever, and the dog and the fish know each other, and the dog only will kiss that fish. And it is the darndest thing. They have some weird little connection, and the dog down there, and the koi's doing kind of that gross thing where they're up out of the water. And I'm like, oh, wow, the Frenchie is Frenching a fish.
Well, that's like the little kitten that climbs up the glass little partition and gets into the little puppy's partition next door.
I just saw that this weekend.
So cute.
It is adorable.
Little kitten goes in, Well, the critters, when they get buddies,
they're tight.
Yeah. That's it. I know. I love. There's a lot of weird stuff out there, and so it's really fun to find just highly adorable things.
Mm-hmm.
I mean that clickbait will work for me almost every damn time. Is it a cute app? Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yep. That's
Yeah. And then anything pretty much with animals for me will get it. But then, there's the ones that are like so over the top touching that, and then of course I'm bawling, but I still click on them. Do I sit there and go, gee, do I have time to go blow my nose for the next 20 minutes? I never think to ask that question. I just click, and I really need to use a little more discipline when it comes to that.
I figure my internet search history has to be hilarious because I'll run I'll be looking for things for like the show or something runs across and I'll click on this or I'll do that and it'll be like the kitten video or the picture. It's all over the place.
Oh, so
it
fun.
Makes no sense. and then I'm trying to find a recipe and so that's in the middle of it. You're just like, really, they're absolutely insane. I think if you looked at most people's search engines, but especially folks that are in media or ourselves or stuff like that, it's just going to be a little different.
Well, what came first, the internet or ADD? It's a real chicken and egg kind of deal. Because if you weren't already, you will be. That's me too. I'm the same way. We talk a lot about body acceptance around here, which is, we'll talk later, really key in good sex. But there's a really cool Swimsuit for All campaign. It's basically saying fuck the thigh gap. The thigh gap is not where it's at for being sexy. So it features fuller figured women in swimsuits in these really they're beautiful women, but they're very sexy poses and all sorts of things. And their whole idea was to show that, hey, it's hashtag my swim body, by the way. People are submitting their own photos and all of this kind of stuff, but it's a body acceptance kind of deal. And I thought it was really uplifting.
Wow, that's cool.
No, I was like, I always love these. You want a bikini body? Put a bikini on, which is what I do because my theory is that tan flesh looks better than white pasty flesh.
I couldn't agree with you more.
And so, although it's really hard at my size, and it's not huge, to actually find a 2-piece suit. I mean, because it's just so much easier to pee in than a 1-piece or this or that. Oh my God. You just fishing all that down and stuff like that. But no, you want to have a bikini body? Put on a bikini. You got a bikini body. That's how that works. Swimsuit body, anything.
Right? I love it.
Yep.
I love it. No, that's a good one. We'll have a link to this, of course. Everything that we talk about, Miss Megan Chronicles on the Great Northern Sexcast Facebook page. So keep in touch with us there. Amsterdam, got to go there someday. Have either of you been?
I have been there years ago.
What'd you think?
It was, late 80s. So I'm like 19 or something like that. And I just went, you could actually see you could go through the red light district and, you got the folks in the windows, and then, you've got the sex shows. And then I don't think they had the pot then. And it was just funny because you're just like, I'd already, having fantasy gifts and this and that, it just wasn't that entertaining.
Yeah.
It just seemed sort of, I'm like, well, it was just so incredibly ordinary. And I think that's, but, also, went in, the canals and the suites and the history, that was a lot more interesting to me than the live sex show.
Or the hash, which is what so many people that I know thought was so spectacular about it. Well, they had a situation there recently. A lot of people called police saying, hey, look, there's a very scantily clad woman who might be hanging in this window. She hasn't moved and it's, whatever. So they dispatched police and they got really concerned because they were pounding on the door and they couldn't get a response. And so they basically kicked the door down, braced to find a dead body. And it was a blow-up doll. Oh, shit. That was just kind of propped in the window, and people thought that it was, someone hung themselves, and they were more than happy that it was, but they don't know if they've spoken to the occupant of the apartment who was not at home at the time. But how do you get that person in trouble? They didn't do anything wrong, right? I mean, there's no charge.
Well, obviously, it must have been clothed because we all know that there's expensive dolls, but your general doll, I've never quite understood on some of the more novelty dolls, if that's what it was. I mean, they get holes, they're functional,
Mhm.
but they're not all that realistic. And so I'm like,
Yeah.
how you're, gonna figure these things, how you're gonna. Well, then again, I mean, we see
Looking
them.
from a distance.
We see them all the time. Other people aren't that familiar with them.
Yeah.
So I'd probably look at it and go, "Oh, that's that style."
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. But I'm assuming that your general populace isn't as versed in their blow up dolls as we might be.
They just see a figure standing there, scantily clad.
Yeah. Well, that's what I was thinking. But I mean, the whole thing was kind of funny. But can you imagine being the cops? Like, they don't get a good day like that. I mean, and they'll be talking about it for weeks.
Yeah.
I mean,
they occasionally fish a doll out of a river.
I remember
Thinking,
that.
people chuck them in there. I'm like, now that one I think is mean because somebody did that one on purpose.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, for sure. I'm not a clown fan. Does anybody else here have the aversion to clowns?
I don't dislike them. I don't particularly like them. It depends. I do know that most of them have studied for years. I know a lot of performers and people who actually are clowns. So, but they're not. But I also know really good clowns. I suppose a bad clown would be a bad different thing. Mm-hmm.
Creepy clowns, I don't like.
I'm not a fan of. I don't. The people. Okay, Colleen, I'll take your word for the humans that work hard to be performers, but like clown dolls or anything like that, just no.
Nuh-uh. Clown art. No.
Yeah. Oh,
No.
especially on black velvet canvas. No. So there is a somebody managed to make teddy bears possibly creepier than some clowns. There is a photo spread. It's kind of hilarious, but so disturbing on so many levels. Again, we got to put this up because all of a sudden the teddy bear might become the new clown.
Oh, no.
Like as far as people going, ew. So check this out. I ran across that and I got kind of amused and horrified simultaneously.
Great.
And there's probably people who fetishize it. I mean, think about it. Yeah. I was going through there. We'll have to do a little research and find out what what's the word I want? Not phobia, because that's what we're talking about. But someone that has some sort of fetish in general.
Yeah. Well, did you guys ever see that movie Ted?
Yes.
Okay, there's parts of that movie that's pretty damn funny.
Yes,
I mean,
yes.
that was that's what made me think of that. Another reality show that I cannot believe has been on for a couple years and has thus far escaped the Great Northern Sex Cast radar.
Mm-hmm.
And I only found out about it because it's been going on in Italy. But they've got Brits now doing this, and it's called Undressed.
Okay.
Have you heard of this one?
No.
Okay, it starts in Italy. You date naked. So if they set up first dates, and these people get naked, and they have to strip down to their underwear at the first meeting, and then they jump into bed together. And then they spend 30 minutes facing a supersized screen, and the screen flashes probing questions like, are you a good kisser? Have you ever had your heart broken? And then they have to discuss it. And so they can do whatever they want. They can decide to move further or whatever, but they were wondering if the show was going to fly because the Italians are notoriously flamboyant and open, whereas Brits are, known to be the opposite by nature. And they started it out on TLC, I guess you can look for it. And one woman that went on there is making herself be on the show to get over her phobia of dating. Talk about baptism by fire.
Yeah, that's yeah. I mean, there's the Naked and Afraid show here where they put a man and a woman together and throw them in the woods or something.
This is dating.
But it's dating, and I think that would be scarier.
That would be.
That would be scary.
I think they
So
have
you'd rather
a dating
have shit
naked
that wants to
thing
eat
here.
you chasing you?
No. I'm not.
No.
I'm not. Both of them sound awful, but I'm thinking. But if you actually have. If you're forced to answer the question, I'm sure that the questions come up in Naked and Afraid when doing this, but at least there's food in a bed. Naked and Afraid, you're going through. But I mean, but you're talking about survival and finding a food, but there's a camera crew there and you're going to be fine. Versus talking about your last relationship nude in front of another person and with cameras. I mean,
okay, once you put it that way, good point.
Oh
my God.
No, the Naked. I think the naked theme, is what 2 or 3 years old now, and a lot of different things. I think there's going to be a lot more
naked,
lot more naked.
Well, yeah,
they're going to try to push the ticket. Yeah.
Well, you know what?
Especially with cable, you can put it on there.
Yeah.
And especially if it's after 10 o'clock, the rules are different.
Well,
right.
you weren't here. Megan and I, one of the weeks, you guys were talking about I can't think of it. It's Who Wants to Be a Porn Star, but it's it's on X Hamster. Have you watched any of that?
I've watched it. I watched the first 3 episodes.
Funny.
It is hilarious.
I mean,
love
the
it.
challenges that they put these people up to are hysterical.
Yes.
Like the girls, have to give a blowjob and the guys have to try not to come. I mean,
Right.
that's funny stuff.
That is funny. All the guys did well except for the last guy, and he just blew
How'd
like
you
that.
like to be the one guy
that
him?
couldn't hold
Oh,
it. That was hilarious. I
That's
love
good
that
stuff.
show. I hope they have another season.
I know. It's actually got some legs,
Yeah.
or something else.
With big heels on the
It
inside.
was
Right,
good.
yeah.
But then they had this masturbation scene where the guys were all around the tub. It's a circle tub, and all the guys have to stand in there and they have to get hard. Whoever can get the hardest first gets to make a mold of their penis, and Hustler will sell that in their stores.
Oh my God.
And this one guy's pissed because he wasn't able to get it hard. He's like, "Well, I wasn't looking forward to a circle jerk with a bunch of guys."
Yeah. But you don't know.
But you don't know. You got to be able to perform, on cue.
That is what, I've had this discussion with other people. People don't realize, I mean, you can have the looks, you can have the equipment, but if you can't, to the exclusion of everything else on your mind, do that stuff on
Your
command,
mindset.
you can't do it. I
Nope.
mean, so there is an odd layer of talent that these people have.
Oh yeah, you have to. It's going to pull out the weak ones. Some of them already got cast off because you're just not porn material, I guess.
For sure.
But it's interesting watching them go through all this. I'm I'm really intrigued.
I am too. I mean, it's actually, it's way funnier, and nobody's getting hurt.
That's right.
Nobody's, it's all consensual. Yeah, no,
It's
good
better
deal.
than The Bachelorette.
Oh my
I'm telling
God!
ya.
All they want to do is, I know. Those shows exhaust me. There's a pair of pajamas that I think we might have to discuss with Liz about ordering.
Oh
for fantasy gift.
no.
They're funny. So if you see the picture of the girl, it's a really cute teddy set or whatever, and it looks it's got it's a white background with kind of a black, really cool, classic, very British looking print. This story is out of the UK, and black lace trim around the bra and stuff. It's just darling. And she bought these pajamas. She's like, "Oh my God, these are so cute." The designer is Ann Summers, so you can look these up, and then you can see. But she gets them home and she looks, and this cute little design is not little people, watering flowers in an English garden. They're fucking, and the pictures are funny, and they're like debauchery, all over these cute little pajamas. They're cool.
That would we had quite a number of years ago. We had a teddy set and a chemise and stuff like that, and it was a little naked figure. It was a little more cartoonish.
Yeah.
And they were really cutting. But this would probably the novelty stuff. It depending on what it is, sometimes it goes off. She's let's see, Liz is not. She's not going to the fall show. Is she going to the fall show?
I don't know.
I don't know. There's a fall show, but it's tough because a lot of folks don't. You can't get the stuff in time for Christmas and Valentine's sometimes. So what's the point?
That's the problem with the fall show.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It's too close to all the major holidays that we have,
Yeah. Somebody needs
Especially when their shipping is 3 months down the line. It's like, ugh,
Never mind.
never mind.
Yeah.
Get that for next year.
Okay, I'm a wordy. I'll admit it. Okay, and when I found this story, I got absolutely cracked up, and I have to admit I see myself in here. So they did a study. They meaning Oxford.
Okay.
Ooh, Oxford.
Oh, fancy schmancy.
Fancy schmancy. Well, actually, it was Kyoto University in conjunction with Oxford.
Okay.
Oxford.
Okay.
So I mean,
Both fancy schmancy.
Yeah.
right. They wanted to know what, if any, correlation there would be between sex and grammar. And what they were after was, they're like, is there a link between our sex lives and our use of grammar? So, however you react to subordinate clauses, split infinitives, and commas might seem unsexy, but how you feel about bad grammar tells something about your sex life. Now, get this. So they took 80 people with different personality types, and they put emails that had typos and errors in them. And so the test email was about a room to rent. Now, here's the funny thing. Introverts were far more particular about their grammar. I mean, they're the ones that really had a fit. And extroverts didn't care. So what they're saying is, in terms of arousal, they believe that the introverts have a higher rate of arousal and extroverts have a lower rate, with the theory being that if you're introverted, the things that set you off really set you off. Whereas if you're extroverted, you're processing energy all the time and letting it out. You got to read. It's a long article. I mean, it's really technical. I'm just totally summarizing it for you.
So in other words, will you borrow me a pencil? Would absolutely
send me into a complete, but you might not think I'm introverted, but I actually am. I mean, I can only be out so much, and then I've got to be away because I
honestly, I think that most people are that way.
Do you?
I mean, everybody's like this, that, and whatever, and people like to post articles about the care and feeding of your introvert or your extrovert. For I think every day is situational for each person.
Yeah.
I just, some days you want to be around people, some days you don't. I don't think you particularly need a label for that.
Good point.
People just say, well, maybe you need that. It's like, I'm introverted. I don't want. It's just like, I don't feel like going to that. I'm at a party and I want to go. I go, I'm leaving now. But then people know that about me. I'm
Colleen, not you are an unusual self-actualized person. Not everybody is as true to themselves as you are, which actually is quite admirable.
It is.
I tell people, I'm tired tonight. I can't make it. Have a great evening. Okay.
Bye-bye. Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah. I have plans. My plans may be sitting on my ass, but
That's
I
right,
have
they're
plans.
I love it.
It's not that difficult.
No. It's a good attitude, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, but God, how many people do all of us know that are so hung up on what everybody else thinks, though?
I know.
And they, my mom, rest her soul, I'm like sitting there going, I would ask her all the time, and I'm not even close to Colleen's level of, I'm fine with myself. You know what I mean? I have work to do, but yeah, it's weird. I think it's generational too, don't you guys?
I think
a little
so.
bit.
Everybody goes, through this or that, and goes through whatever's going through there. But for it's, and it depends. I think I think the older you get, it's much easier to go. Yeah, I don't want to put up with this shit.
Yeah.
Well,
I think
there's
you get to
that.
point,
Yeah,
too.
I do. At one point, you're just like, I'm, the meme that goes around sometimes about the woman celebrating her 95th birthday who starts giggling. Goes, hey, if I didn't get laid, no one would be here. It's just a cute little story. The thing, it pops up in the feed every now and then. And that's right, because at one point you're like, yeah, they just say that. There's not too much you haven't seen at that age.
Yeah.
And for the most part, they're like, yeah, I think I can maybe let some of this go. I think it's probably where that that red hat and all that sort of happened.
Yeah.
You're just like, I am done worrying about. I'm not saying I don't care what other people think, but I'm just not going to and I'm not going to be an ass to someone, but I'm also going to take care. I'm not going to lie to someone. I don't feel like doing something. I tell them.
Healthy.
Yeah.
I like it.
I do too.
Yeah.
This okay. Wales. Okay. In which my family actually is, my father was Welsh.
Okay, so the country, not the
The
critter.
critter.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
The mammal.
country, as in Swansea and places
Okay.
like that. Okay. So actually Swingfields was this gigantic, they just finished in Wales, a gigantic 3-day swinging event. And this is the third year. And I guess what cracked me up about it is it's in Wales, and it got all of this media attention because, oh my gosh, I'm going to read you something that sounds like Pride Weekend. Okay. Sex-themed parties, orgies, and sex toy tents. And what's so wacky, crazy about that? I mean,
Sex toy
that's,
tent?
yeah,
Right.
I know. Right. But, that's one of Europe's biggest ones, which I find hilarious, ended up in Wales. But they only had, still that said, if that's Europe's biggest, 700 people doesn't sound like a ton to me.
No.
But the headlines,
You can't tell me that Germany doesn't have bigger. Sorry.
right? I know.
Yeah, then again, that it could be a stereotype that I'm going through, but you definitely think of. I've seen some of the toy companies that come out of Germany, and some of the stuff's good, and it's freakier than a lot of the other stuff I see.
Really?
Other than, let's say, some of the stuff that comes out of Japan sometimes.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for sure. So, all right. So the next thing, I thought this one was really interesting. The top related sex fears for women.
Pregnancy?
That'd be number one, right?
Yeah.
Ceiling fans?
Yeah, actually, number one, and it's kind of you're not right. I mean, the top 3 spots are kind of related to this. Number 1 is your partner won't want to wear a condom. 2, the partner has an STD. 3, unintended pregnancy. So those 3 all kind of go together. I sort of think. Number 4, your partner will find your naked body unattractive.
No. If it's naked, the guys are happy. I have for the most part, seriously. I mean, you see a Dear Abby letter every now and then about my wife this or my wife that or my girlfriend this or my girlfriend that. For the most part, though, when I talk to actual men, if you're nude, they're happy. Nudity, good.
Okay.
Boobs, good.
They like boobs.
Boobs are very big.
Number 5 is a bit of a bummer that your partner will not take no for an answer. Then why are you there? 6, your partner will want to do something you're not comfortable with. That's probably pretty common.
Yeah, I think that's probably. I mean, a lot of the stuff I could see you could just reverse, or I mean, this seems more human than females, except for the pregnant part.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh yeah. Well, number 7, an embarrassing bodily function will occur during sex.
That's happened to everybody. And most people, I would tell you.
Or we've worried about it.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
I suppose,
Whether or not it's happened. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I would assume that after a couple of months, if you're worried about that, then maybe you're not comfortable enough to actually be having sex with that person.
Yeah.
First couple times, everybody's like, okay, let's see. And after a while, you're like, I don't care anymore. You're just like, do I shave my legs? Do I care?
But once again, it's naked.
It's
There's
naked.
a leg hair.
There-
I don't think that's what they're noticing.
No.
8 and 9 are interesting because they go in this order. Number 8 is your partner won't have an orgasm or be satisfied. And then number 9 is that you won't have an orgasm or be satisfied. So the women, anyway, are putting the male first. And number 10, the 10 biggest sex fear of women, 10th rather, you're bad at sex. Boy, that got quiet.
No, I'm just saying. They like I said, they put woman in front of that, but it sounds more like I said, except for the pregnancy. I think most folks probably, although you could just change that to your partner will get pregnant if you're the male female sex there, but I think most people might worry about whether or not their arm fat is flabbing, or whether their stomach's flopping around, or how far their boobs are going to one side or another. And I'm like, you're having sex. It's not an attractive thing. It just isn't. It's a fun thing, but it's not really an attractive thing.
Which is why the people that enjoy filming themselves perplex me. I don't want to rewatch that. I don't want to know what it looks like from a camera angle.
No.
Personally.
Yeah.
I like doing it. I'm all about that,
yeah.
but I don't want to go back and go, oh, God.
You just go through your techniques. Well, you could have did that different.
I flipped around and there was a mirror that was larger, and I just busted out laughing. I'm like, oh, that's just silly. There was no, you know what I mean? You're just like, what? And it's like, oh no, there cannot, no.
There should be no mirrors.
That was just, but it was just, it's way too silly. It just is.
It is. I mean, if you really let yourself think about it, it's disturbing.
Mm-hmm.
Another one that I came by, there's a fertility app out there, Kindara. And they wanted to know they had 500 respondents about sexual turn-ons to find out what makes women want to jump in bed. Okay. Which is I think something a lot of guys would like to know.
Right.
Please
tell.
Whatever.
Yeah.
So not a ridiculous question. More than half, which the number came in at 53%, said having an emotional connection with their lover. Okay, that was number 1. 2, foreplay. And only 23.6% of those said foreplay was essential, though. I find that shocking.
Right.
What about you?
Yeah, some folks just might want to just get in, get out, and have a good time.
Right. Wham, bam. But I like foreplay.
It could be, well, it depends. I mean, you're talking, they just want to, they might like a quickie.
The last one, number 3, 1 in 10 thought communication was key.
Only 1?
1 in 10. Yeah.
1 in 10.
Yeah.
Okay, well, okay. Oh, wait. 1 in 10 people thought communication was key to getting a woman in bed. I did see it. Okay.
I know that really flies in the face of a lot of the stuff that we otherwise. Yeah.
Well, how do you have an emotional? How do 50% want an emotional connection? but 4 out of 5 of those don't communicate.
Well, maybe, okay, that could be the whole Fabio thing.
Now, mind you,
Be quiet, sweetie.
Yeah.
Don't talk. Just don't talk. Just sit there. You know what I mean? And I don't know about you, but right after I got divorced, I had 1 or 2 of those where I just had to. It's like, no, don't speak.
That's just masturbating with another human. Yeah. That's what I call it.
needed it at the time.
That's the thing, but that's, there's nothing wrong with that. It's perfectly reasonable.
Well.
Yeah.
So I thought that was kind of funny.
Mm-hmm.
All right, you guys. I found Spanking, like this really incredibly interesting, humongous article on spanking. And the link will go up, and you really ought to read it because we're going to hit some of it today.
Mm-hmm.
But it talks about the history and this. I was really riveted by this. Okay, so 60% of women. It starts out with a stat saying 60% of women surveyed say that they enjoy being spanked. So. The erotic spanking, this article is suggesting that this is going to become more mainstream. And
if it's at 60%, it already is. I mean, if you would have said like 12%, but we're already at a majority here. You can get
on fire.
She is on top of it today.
You can get an amendment passed at 60%. I mean.
Somebody put a nickel.
And I know that we sell lots of spankers and stuff like that. We get like samples in, so we'll be smacking each other, and at the office, and we're just laughing. We're like, does that hurt? No. This handle's crappy. We can't sell this. And I'm like, it's very good.
Yes, it's always interesting.
No, I would say if you're at 60%,
you're already halfway there.
Yeah.
It's almost mainstream.
Yeah.
Well, I guess what they might have meant about it is that we're going to talk about it more because a lot of people obviously like doing it, but it's not discussed as much. So kind of like I think this
anal sex. A lot of people do it, but there's not.
Nobody talks about it.
Mm-hmm.
We do.
We do.
Oh, we got some sparkly butt plugs in.
Oh, those are cool.
They were supposed to come in for Pride, but they didn't come in time. But they're black, and they got some silver sparkles in them. Oh, they're so cute.
Anything that glitters.
I think they went to Burnsville.
Oh, good.
Oh, just adorable little butt plugs.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I need one of those then. Just a couple of quick interesting notes that you may or may not have known about spanking, guys. A sex expert and commentator named Colleen talks about the earliest mentions of spanking in recorded human history. They go back, or they believe that it really kind of came into popularity in the Renaissance, in French courts. And she said it was also grew to popularity in Victorian England, and it was internationally referred to as the English vice. Isn't that funny? So those little Brits that are so repressed, they need to have their butts spanked. It goes back to them.
People also just like fannies. I mean, fannies are just big. People,
they are.
Yeah.
Except for in Britain, fanny means
yes.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yes.
Just saying.
Mm-hmm.
So the question, the article explores why it's such a turn on, and it talks about, none of us wanted to be spanked when we were kids, or maybe get hit with a switch or whatever. But again, this sex expert says that it's the mix of pleasure and pain, and it's completely and totally mental. Do you guys agree with that? That it's.
Oh yeah, I mean that's I think there's spanking. I mean, we have the spanking videos.
Mm-hmm.
There's no sex in them because you can't have the spanking and the sex in the same one. So it's basically the bondage of the spanking. I mean, and I would assume that, I can't imagine that there's too many movies that we sell where at least there isn't one slap on the ass somewhere in the movie. And judging by the amount of paddles we sell and have for decades, folks really like that.
See, you know what is? The information in this article is interesting, but what's cracking me up is that Colleen's like, yeah, so.
Yeah, right.
I mean, I was not expecting this. I'm like, look, you guys, look what I found.
No, but paddles are there's some folks there's fur lined ones and leather ones and wooden ones and ones that have like designs in them, so you can put little hearts or the word love right on their ass.
Yeah, welted heart.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and then there's the lots of different things.
Oh,
and,
yeah.
and for the most part, we're like, okay, we get them in and they sell out almost immediately.
Interesting. Well, they also talk about part of the erotica here is the anticipation of it happening, which gets adrenaline and dopamine levels up, which I thought was kind of interesting. They talk about comprehensively the different levels of spanking. So they kind of run through everything from like maybe a fur-lined little cutesy paddle all the way up into the BDSM. So that's kind of interesting. They suggest Googling. And they said, if you have any spanking questions, whatever, have you guys ever heard of this site, fetlife.com?
Oh yeah, we have a Fantasy Gifts has I don't go on there enough, but Fantasy Gifts has an account, so I'll post things that are a little bit more that are more pertinent to that lifestyle and area and over there. They don't especially if we get a new line of when we got a new line of sport sheets in and a few other things, make sure it gets posted there too.
Okay. There's 2 websites, spankingepics.com, all spanking movies. But this one's interesting, you guys. Wasteland.com has safe, sane, and consensual BDSM with authentic, real couples instead of porn stars. Wasteland.com. So check that one out. I thought that was kind of interesting. And then did you guys know that they had spanking workshops?
Really?
Yeah.
I can't imagine. Yeah, seems to be reasonable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can go to spanking workshops. So check out FetLife. You can probably find them there. And then they talk about mixing sex and spanking and some of the definite tips. But they, you have to have the no questions asked, stop points, safe words, et cetera, et cetera. But the article has a lot of sexual science in it, and there's a lot of history. So if you have any interest in this, or if it just makes you giggle, like it kind of does me, it's not really my thing, but I don't judge it. I mean, I've never seen so much information on this in my life in one article, and it's well written.
Wow, let's check that
I
out.
like the part where it's well written.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not written by an idiot.
Yeah, because if you're interested in something and you've got to slog through really shitty grammar or something that's organized poorly, even though you want the information, it just makes your head hurt.
Yes. So real quick, I'm going to skip. There's some stuff that we've got that I kind of want to save for when Megan's here next time. It's kind of more her thing, and since we've got Mr. Married Michael in the room, we can run through 7 things that keep each other into it longer. So how long have you guys been married? Well, how long have you been together?
We've been together 9 years.
Okay, and you've been married
2.
Okay, that's a long relationship.
Long time, yes.
So you got to tell us, and Colleen chooses not to be married, but you have a long-term relationship, and so do I.
Yep.
So we've got stuff. But okay, 1, time brings a deeper connection. Poll the table. Agree or disagree?
Oh, I would think so.
I think so too.
Yeah, I mean, put it this way: the connection gets deeper, or you get divorced.
Right.
I mean,
Yes.
I don't think. I mean, I know of no long-term couple that is exactly the same as when they got married.
Okay.
The folks that are happy. I know some long-term unhappy couples, but they choose that I can't do anything about it. But the folks that are truly happy, they're not the same people that they were 20 years ago.
Yeah.
But they
evolved together versus apart.
Yeah.
Right.
Which was why I got divorced. Yeah. Okay. So unself-conscious sex is better sex. I think we've covered that today. Pretty well.
Yeah.
Yeah. And okay. Number 3, fantasies are meant for sharing.
Some fantasies.
Yeah. I mean, they are, because I think that everyone's entitled to their own thoughts too.
Yeah.
I mean, not everyone has to know everything about everyone.
No.
I mean, I just we share everything. I'm like, no, you don't. I mean, I maybe there are people, but I can't imagine that there really are that many people who share absolutely every little minutia moment, every thing, every thought that they have in their head.
Yeah.
Because that would drive me insane.
I have to keep some things to myself,
Yeah. I'm gonna say everybody, you're entitled to your own thoughts, and they're your,
Yeah.
you're going through there. So within you would say within reason.
Any fantasies that I might want to portray or bring out, then I would share it. But most of it is just for me.
Yeah. You're allowed to have your own fantasy life.
Number 4, I find kind of interesting. It says they're calling this one practice makes perfect, and it says they're like, yeah, the early sex is great, but there's nothing about if you guys are engaged and you're paying attention, really knowing what makes the other one's toes curl, and the longer that you're together, the better you are at that, and you should enjoy it rather than thinking you're in a rut. I thought that was interesting.
It is.
Oh yeah, I would certainly hope that after quite a number of years, you know what the other person
Right.
likes and dislikes.
And then you can expand on it as time goes by. You can keep expanding onto that and more, and just keep making more fun.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
I know it does it for him, but I know
yeah,
how to
but-
expand on that and make it even better.
And it's the same thing too, because whether it's your sex life or whether whether you're like, I like that restaurant, or we like to go to that movies, or we're gonna cook this, or I like that brand of mayonnaise. It's all the same thing. You're paying attention to the
Yes.
person that you care about.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And a new sex toy now and then doesn't hurt.
Yeah.
That's right.
5 is communication. We talk about that all the time. Number 6, they talk about great sex transcending the bedroom, and they're saying, talk and be a little bit sexual when you're not planning on actually having sex, and just remember to do that. I thought that was interesting.
Yeah, because it's not all about just that one time.
Right.
I mean, you're not, you're in different places or this or that, or when you send someone a note or you send there's that. If you're, if you let someone know that you're thinking about them, that's hotter than
That's
hell.
sexy. Yeah,
oh
it
my
is.
God. Yeah.
I love it.
Mm-hmm.
The last one, number 7, be open to learn new things. And they're like, try to keep curiosity in it. And she says, look at it. And I it's funny when you're doing podcasting or radio or whatever, I always tell you guys, the best shows are when everybody comes in here and we're all like, like we were so excited to see each other. Everybody had a great holiday weekend. And when the energy is there, the show's better.
Yeah.
Right. They're saying the same thing about the sex. You've got to bring the energy. Don't let yourself go autopilot on it.
Yeah.
I
Well, and then I would add again within reason, because sometimes it is autopilot. You go through there, but it can't be that way all the time.
Right.
To going through there, but but then again, if you're with each other for a long time, you will have evolved together. You will have said, "Hey, that looks interesting," or you'll do this, or maybe somebody breaks an arm, and you're like, and while you're working around that, you go, "Hey, check this out." You don't, you know what I mean? You don't know. You know what I mean? You have to work around things. Yeah. Well, guess what we can do? This is exciting. Did you know the bench can move this way next to the bench? You don't know.
I love it.
But sometimes you're like, okay, let's just get at it. And that's fine.
Sometimes
too.
a quickie is just as good.
It is. Sometimes, I mean, I have actually, I will own this. I have actually said out loud, I'm really tired, but could you just fuck me quick?
You're right.
I just really, just like, can we just, whatever. Yeah.
I'm too tired. Can we just go rub one out?
Yeah.
So,
And it's like, he was not even remotely offended.
Yeah,
no.
like, hey, I'm getting some.
Eric's the same way. He's like,
Everything has to be an epic adventure.
it doesn't.
Oh my God.
So funny.
I know.
It was so funny.
We're all busy, Let's just try to squeeze one in.
Yeah.
I love that. I love that. Well, you guys, I'm really glad none of you put fireworks in your ass.
No.
No, that's just not going to happen.
Okay.
No.
My ass is too
no.
precious for any flames like that.
No.
I'm telling you.
There would be no flaming, no.
I've saw too
just
many videos
no.
of what happens, so I'm
Oh
not
my
going
gosh.
there.
And in case you haven't seen those videos, consider this the Great Northern Sex Cast public service
It
announcement.
is.
Yeah.
Yes.
Don't put fiery shit in your ass or any other word.
Or anywhere. No.
Oh my God! Oh God! Okay, so watch for the newsletter. Sign up for it. You don't spam people.
No.
Yeah. The one went out today, so the next one will go out, and then, sign up for it. The next one will go out in August.
Okay.
Unless
We don't
something-
sell
unless,
email addresses or
yeah,
nothing.
unless something really
don't care.
interesting happens between now and August 1st, and I'm sure it will.
It
But
will.
I'm pretty sure I can wait until August to write about it.
Okay. Good. Well, all I'm saying is, this 2-year editing curve. You need to tighten that up a little bit.
we're working on
Hey, wait
that.
a minute, what's this? Oh, people signed up for this. Holy crap!
Oh.
I was a little embarrassed, but I'm not. Yeah, I'm like, okay, well, maybe I should do something with this.
I think by nature this is a forgiving crowd. What do you think,
Yeah.
Michael?
Yes.
Oh my God, good to have you back.
It's great to see
Michael.
you.
You as well. So we'll be back next week, And, so much going on, in the world and with related to all things sexual. And you can send us a message at Great Northern Sex Cast on Facebook, Great Northern Sex Cast page. Michael Radke and Colleen Bertino, awesome job today. And we'll be back next week.
See you next
All right,
week.
see you later.